Hey guys.
Oh, the devil is a flower plucked from a cloud.
Shirtless and sweaty in the cabin of the truck today. Do you know what I'm looking forward to?
What are you looking forward to,
I'm looking forward to two things. I'm looking forward to having an air conditioner, and I'm looking forward to the good mic being its old self again. After that happens, we will finally be professional trucks. It'll no longer be the suffering and heat, listen to the cars hour. It'll instead be what it was always supposed to be. Just you and me and our beautiful voices and our crisp, clear ideas.
Hey, I appreciate that. I mean, you have to admit that the ambient sound of the street does not sound completely out of place on a California highway.
It's absolutely true.
So this at least works, but there are other things that don't. And that was a characteristic start, I would say, driving-wise to this week's truck episode. So, as we are sticky and miserable, I will begin with the topic that was guaranteed to get everybody sticky and miserable. I was listening to a podcast the other day, the Adam Buxton podcast, which I didn't recommend last time we were doing this, but is another one that I would like to recommend because Adam Buxton is a lovable man. He was interviewing Richard Ayoade, which some of you may know as Moss from the IT crowd, or as various names.
Thank you. Thank you for forgiving me.
Go ahead. Mighty Boosh. And Richard Ayoade is a very smart man. He's a sort of a reserved individual. He's articulate. He's a actor, writer, director. Has opinions about art. Has very sort of refined taste. And they're going along through these interviews until the last part, at which point Josh's computer just straight up burned to the ground.
This has happened before. It'll probably be fine.
I don't think it's gonna be fine. Oh shit!
As you were saying.
As I was saying, and everything was going along tickety-boo until they got onto the topic of Woody Allen. Richard Ayoade is a big Woody Allen fan, and they discussed Woody Allen like just in terms of his art for a while, and then after a number of different other things, they circled back to it because Buxton wanted to address the elephant in the room if you're a Woody Allen fan, which is how do you justify being a Woody Allen fan? And the thing that struck me about this is that Ayoade, who, as I said, is a cogent and intelligent human being, after doing the usual, like, do I have to discuss this, sound, which is the correct response, then embarked upon what I would call a load of waffle.
Okay.
Some nebulous, tedious points that did not actually, make any particular, sense relative to the question of how do you justify being a Woody Allen fan, but instead lobbed a lot of truisms at a lot of hypotheticals, which were extreme examples of, the very specific question that had been asked about this one guy.
Right.
And so what I want to talk about is the question of whether it's okay to like stuff by people who are bad. Which, we've already addressed.
We have.
But more specifically, why get so upset about it? And because the question of whether you're allowed to like something by a person that is bad is very, very simple, and the answer is yes.
Yes, of course.
And it is interesting to me to see folks who are otherwise so self-possessed become all muddled about it and feel that it merits an essay-length response rather than a sentence-length response.
Well, it's because a lot of people out there are going to tell you that you can't, and the desire is real to defend yourself against those charges.
I suppose so. I think that, I don't really feel a fear of being yelled at, I guess. It's like the world is full of people who are wrong about things, and they will tell you.
Of course.
And a lot of them feel like they have the sword of righteousness to beat you with, even.
I think, in a case like this, it's also just, you're on the radio and you've been asked to mount a defense. So
yes.
it would reflect badly upon you and your tastes to just say, it's okay, he's bad, That might have been the correct thing to say.
I think it would have been the correct thing to say.
But I think he would have been accused of flippancy.
Yeah, but like he's an extremely flippant human being.
Right.
That's the point that I'm
just like us.
Yeah, and
which is perhaps why we're okay with being satisfied with flippancy on this particular subject.
I suppose so.
But in Woody Allen's case in particular.
Yeah.
And allow me now to make the requisite do we have to talk about this sound, but we should talk about it. Let's talk about it. His work in particular is kind of weirdly reflective of what's bad about him.
Yeah, no.
And so there's this like feeling, probably a very correct feeling, that Woody Allen is going to be put in the gutter in the world of cinematic history, you know?
Right. Because in retrospect it all makes so much sense.
Right.
If you know what
and
I mean.
also unrelatedly, in retrospect, it's happening again. I think I know what the problem might be. We're going to pause when this comes back and I'm going to try and fix it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, we figured it out.
Like, I think, unrelatedly, it's also becoming apparent that Woody Allen's films, a large part of why they were so praised at the time was because they were fashionable. Not necessarily. And there is value to the fashions of the past. I'm not one to say that we should never go back and read, popular adventure serials from the 40s.
Yeah.
But, like, it might not actually have been high art. If we are interested in drawing the distinction.
Right. So this is number 2, rather than going for the sort of nebulous, because he shied away from the specific very quickly.
Sure.
When addressing this question. Why not actually get into whether Woody Allen is good?
A good person, or
no?
A good
whether
filmmaker.
Whether he makes good art.
Right.
Which is, I think, a question that the revelations, which are barely revelations about if you were paying attention about his personal life, call, because of course there is a relationship between the author and the work,
of course,
and I think that it's entirely reasonable to answer those questions that are raised, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a position where I can afford to be, flip about this, because I personally don't like Woody Allen.
Yeah.
And I'm not even somebody who has never liked Woody Allen. I'm somebody who liked Woody Allen when I was a youngster.
Yeah, I've seen one Woody Allen movie. Saw it when I was young. It was Manhattan. I liked it. Kind of made me want to move to New York, which here I am. So I can't say that it wasn't in some way an important work of art
there's no
for me.
Well, there is no denying is that the dude is potent.
Oh yeah.
He's got
skills. He's got
skills. He's got talents. But you want to. This sort of, you want to look at what he's adding to the world in discourse, and it's like, to the extent that art is worth defending, it's worth defending because of what it represents in the culture. Art qua art, I think, is not worth defending. It's not worth getting upset about, which is a controversial viewpoint, but
I can see the logic to it.
It's not that important.
Yeah,
I feel, particularly art where the crux of why it's good is in the exercise of cleverness or pure craft.
Yeah.
It's like, that's awesome. I think it's just about as worth defending as somebody who's really good at riding a horse.
Yeah, totally. And you can write some poetry about that, but if you do want to analyze what Woody Allen has brought to the world, like the things he's added to the culture, I would say one thing that quickly comes to mind is the opening of the story, where there is an establishing shot of an apartment building while the main character, who's also a writer, chastises himself for not knowing how to open his story.
That's the worst thing imaginable.
Right.
That's like...
It was fresh when he did it, maybe.
It's everything that I despise about how I was when I was 16 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the fact that he remained that, should have been the clue, right?
Did he do that more than once, him personally?
I don't know if he did that more than once him personally, but the vibe remains consistent, right?
Yeah.
Alan is a very vibe-consistent human being.
Sure.
What it is to have a style is to reveal those complexes that you cannot get over. Anyway, I think that I'm in the lovely position where I can defend to the death your right to enjoy Woody Allen, but shit on you for it for purely aesthetic grounds.
That is a lovely position. Is it? And so we will not shit on a person for liking Woody Allen
because he's a terrible person.
Even though it's clearly borne out in his art.
Yes, we will.
That is. I mean, I have to say,
it's a nice distinction.
It's slightly hypocritical of us.
Oh yeah, you think so?
Because we totally shit on artists for the how to put it.
We shit on artists, but we shit on people who like the artists.
I guess not.
I mean, we probably do, but that's not something we ought to do, I feel.
You're right about that.
Unless they're in a position where liking the art means, in addition to everything else, means subscribing to a particular ideology or cultural faction that is, self-evidently bogus.
Right.
Which, is definitely a thing that happens.
Sure.
Why these things seem so important is that cultural warfare is fought on a lot of fronts.
Yeah.
You see people, you see particularly feminist or writers who are people of color, going out and taking big swings at, large, fragile, dusty, white stalwarts, like Zizek.
Yeah.
Or
Take your pick.
What?
Take your pick.
Take your pick, right? There's a whole
Ken Levine.
Ken Levine. All right. There's a whole variety of people who are, I think, all that you need to do is point out the truth, which is that they're overpraised, and that they're probably overpraised because they slot into a vibe that is extremely privileged.
The 20th century great artist vibe.
Yeah, or the even right now, sort of the 21st century faux leftist urban bro vibe.
Sure.
People who, and for Alan, the 50s, the psychoanalyst is king. Absurdity tempered with sadness vibe, which was an extremely cosmopolitan way to be at that point.
Totally. And it all has its roots in, your fucking New York school of poetry, your same with the painters, that super hip kind of lefty art scene.
So, it is absolutely true that these people are overpraised because they speak to people who have more cultural power than other people.
Sure.
It does not then follow that they're worthless, or that they are bad, even, although in some cases they clearly are. What is borne out is the...
I'm running out of fuel.
God, again, Josh! Why? Every time.
I don't
You have to learn how to play this game differently. We should have stopped and fueled up when we passed that gas station
I know.
10 minutes ago.
It's gonna happen. I'm gonna run out of gas.
Oh my god.
Oh well, keep going.
Oh my god. Well, anyway, why would you listen to us? We can't even cross a simple desert.
It's a tiny
without
desert.
Running out of gas.
A teeny weeny little desert.
We can't even get from one side of it to another. Anyway, riggedy regardless, I think that it's a bad look to be defending Woody Allen.
Yeah.
But I will say that it is entirely reasonable if somebody says, well, Woody Allen is worthless and all of his work is is rendered worthless by this, which maybe somebody's saying, but I don't know if I've heard people saying that.
Yeah.
So that's again one of those hypotheticals that
it would be
distracts you from the actual situation.
It would be refreshing if quite unnecessary to read a genuine defense of the aesthetic value of his films. That's just the kind of thing which it's not cool to write right now.
Yeah. And which is therefore more valuable.
Yeah. The person who writes that is going to get trashed,
Yeah, pilloried. But what if they do it well?
Yeah.
The thing is that the person who writes that is going to do it badly, almost certainly.
That's true. That they're gonna use it and kind
because nobody would want to write that article right now unless they had a motive which involved the discrediting of the sort of people.
Exactly. They would use it to kind of sarcastically wave off accusations that this guy is bad because look, he did a good thing.
Yeah, which is
vapid.
Completely vapid. It's
ding, 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 ding. Man,
I think that the music bed that you should put under this truck should just be that kind of stuff, so that wasn't as jarring as it no doubt just was. It's a hard time. It's going to be better soon, folks. But we're keeping to our principles by maintaining output.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Are you not entertained?
Oh, there's a gas station coming up. I think we're going to be okay.
WWE's Sheamus. God, I forget the point that I was trying to make. Anyway, you said that it was maybe a little sort of hair splitty of us to say, we think the thing you like is bad. We think the person who made the thing you like is bad, but we don't think you're bad, unless you are.
That's certainly our intellectual position.
Yeah.
But it is a difficult one to bear out. It's unavoidable that when you call the artist bad and his art bad,
you're going to end up implicating the people.
You kind of are sort of implying that the people who like it are at least that they at least have a bad radar for badness.
Yeah.
Which is, a less than desirable trait in a person, especially when it comes to artists who do terrible things.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I've been on the other side of this, right? I've definitely had those moments where I'm like, where somebody points out something quite reasonable about a thing that I like.
Yeah.
Whether it's as simple as, there are no women in this,
mm-hmm.
Which might not have occurred to me before somebody said that.
Sure.
Or, you can only enjoy this because of these specific, reference and,
oh my God.
Wow, that was pathetic.
On whose part?
On yours!
Both of us, I gotta say.
He didn't think you'd be stupid enough to do that.
I thought the entire window was on my screen. I mean, mirror, but it was not.
It was not. Whew, okay. As I said, clearly you shouldn't be listening to us. But yeah, no, I mean, I've been on the other side of that, and it's like really easy both for the person who's talking and the person who's listening to elide that into you're a bad person.
Yeah.
I think it's worth on both ends laboring to salvage those distinctions, though.
Yeah.
Because the alternative would be to not call artists bad people, and I don't think I could live in that world.
One time I met a girl in high school who said the words that she did not like music. This I thought was profoundly alien. And I was a teen when I heard this, so I definitely launched to the conclusion that she was kind of a bad person.
Right.
For not liking what is clearly an unalloyed good, the existence of music.
Right.
Thoughts?
Well, I believe you were incorrect in coming to that conclusion. I do not believe that this person had... I think that, in fact, that what you did there was ableist.
Ableist?
I think it was ableist.
You think this person was disabled?
I think that the inability... I think that some people have oral processing difficulties that make them unable to listen to music or to enjoy music.
That makes sense. That does make sense. My thinking at the time was probably that she had not discovered any music that she would like.
She had just been benighted.
Yes, it makes, I think, complete sense that this happened to me at a time in my life when I thought that people who listened to pop music were just
imbeciles.
We're just ignorant and perhaps stupid.
Right. Where and we have learned better,
of course,
in the intervening time,
and started listening to hella pop music.
Yeah. And so were we not in a way as blind as this person who can? You're blind as this person who can listen to music. But yeah, I think
isn't it the Judge and Johnson who's the bad man?
It says Judge and Johnson on our business cards. So if we start going down that route, we're going to be in serious trouble.
We judge people, but we also do lip service to why you shouldn't judge people. So we're good.
Yeah.
Our art purports that we have a morally defensible stance.
Yeah. I was reminded the other day of the fact that the mere fact that I can live in this city is a sign of privilege.
Sure.
It disgruntled me being told that. I have to tell you, I was definitely in more of a space to be disgruntled than usual. I've had a difficult week, I should just point out.
Sure.
Which has led to some fucking shenanigans. Let me tell you.
I'm impressed that this hasn't become a Trux about your suffering.
Yeah, I don't know. I've gone through the point where I would do that, and now I'm just sort of like genially baffled by the fact that I'm still upright, and so just kind of trucking along. And I had a lot of coffee today.
Good.
Point being though that like it's somebody was being a bit of a Judgy Johnson there, and it's difficult to hear, but it's also both true and important.
Yeah,
and like that is way more important as a reality check than pretty much anything about art. Although art can be a good way into that kind of reality check if you are, it's like my musical taste is really heavily influenced by the fact that I was in a position where I could play an instrument. At a young age. I had parents who were interested in that. I had a school system which provided me with one, and space to do it, and like my parents were able to pay for lessons once the school thing was out, and so I have a kind of broad musical background, and that definitely affects what I like and what I don't like in a way that is inalienable, that is so deep in my brain, because I started doing this when I was 8 years old, that there's no real way for me to sort of compensate or unpick that.
Right.
So my social status is bound up in the way that I experience art, and
that's true for everyone, the kind of the tricky puzzle of all this is that there is such a thing as art that has more and less social capital than other art, right? And the funny thing is, generally, if you go after the art that has more social capital, you will be encountering good, new, interesting art. Generally. And if you look for the art that has poor social capital, it'll often be for social reasons like these, like Woody Allen made it, for example. But while that correlation exists, it's not a causation, right? There are reasons you can have poor social capital that don't mean you're bad. And there are also reasons you can have a lot of social capital that don't mean you're good. Yeah, so I guess it's
just like there are a lot of things that affect that are completely invisible to us because we are inside our cultural milieu, like maybe even more than most people. Yeah, and unable to really peek out from over the edge. Yeah. So I would say that the bit of this which is the hardest for me to go to bat for or against is Woody Allen's art good or bad?
Yeah.
Because
we'd have to study his art to arrive at an answer for that, and neither of us wants to do that.
That's true, and it's like he benefited from that social capital for so long. Now that it's been rudely yanked away from him, is there anything left?
Right.
Probably. But maybe not much.
Yeah. By the way, we just delivered a digger from Santa Cruz to Las Vegas.
Yeah, we did that.
Our first time delivering a digger in this game.
We did that real quick, too. That was a shorter trucks than I anticipated it being, but that's for the best because it is miserable in here. I have to go play a rock show later this evening.
We're looking forward to it. Yeah. This episode will be going up probably on Saturday, unfortunately.
Yeah, we started.
Still, if you're a time traveler, come to New York yesterday and see this show.
Nobody's going to be there because all of my friends are either on vacation or dead.
I don't care about parking.
Nice. Excellent.
Digger 500.
How many people did you hit and how many lights did you run?
Well, fortunately, that doesn't go on my permanent record.
I guess you didn't run out of gas, so...
Yeah, I'm fine. Everything is great.
Cool beans, everybody.
These are just professional hazards of the trucking profession.
All right, well, we have successfully created a thing. This feels like sort of a perfectly generic trucks object in terms of the subject matter.
You're right.
I think that there's a certain enjoyment in it.
It's always good to bone up on these things.
Yeah, a little bit of bounce. Anyway,
good night, truckos.
Good night.